Hello, good morning, and welcome to our results show from Tuesday, the 12th of March 2024. We're now at 7:30 on the morning of the 13th of March 2024 and the second day of Cheltenham. We're going to recap yesterday, which was our worst day for a week. I've put on here we were unlucky today. We had 7 second-placed horses. So, of course, even if half of these had won, would have had a reasonable day. But at Cheltenham, there was a load of, well, not easy ones, but I think the bookies had a bit of a bash in there yesterday. The profit and loss there showed that we just got out of trouble in the last race to get our money back, and a £7.46 profit on the day there. At Newcastle, that was our best meeting of the day, where we made a profit of £177.70. Again, we had the first winner, not to a complete £100, but the last 4 winners got us out of a little bit of trouble yesterday. Moving across to Sedgefield in the afternoon, we didn't really get one complete £100 back on any horse, but we did get, well, 2, but one was a profit and one was a loss. And here we lost £130.43 on the day. But the worst was at Southall. And Southall, all we had really, other than the £12.20 draw, just for a part there, it took us right the way to the last race before we had a draw at all. So a loss there of £237.80. But normally when you get these big losses at one meeting, something like the Newcastle meeting of £177.70 normally counteracts it and you sort of like level out. But on the day yesterday, we lost £183.07 to £50 stakes per race. This is the first loss in 6 days. We were £931.42 up to date yesterday, so it's only eaten into the profit, but I still don't want to see that. And it means that the selections loss yesterday was 3.66. So what we need to do today, and I don't work this on a daily basis, but I would like to see now 4 winners more than losers. And my average per day, I try to get, even though we're betting, if you look here, there was how many races yesterday? We had 15, and those that side 13. So we had 28 races, but 3 of them with the red lines across were unbackable. So we betted in 25 races. So what I look for in a day is to make a profit of 2 winners more than losers. So if we had 13 winners and 12 losers, then that would give us 1 win. So I would be looking on something like 14 winners to 11 losers. I know that's 3, but that's roughly one day I would like 14 and 11. The next day I'll take 13 and 12 to level it out by the end of the week. So quickly just recapping on the races yesterday. The first winner at Cheltenham I thought was all set for a good day after Slade still had won the first. Then we had Gaelic Warrior in the second to get our money back, and the other 3 selections, well, Founder 50 was second and Ilite Tomps was third. I felt that Ilite Tomps run a bad race, then it clipped, I don't know, about 3 or 4 of the hurdles, made major mistakes on a couple and still come through to finish third. But I'm not going to take it away from Gaelic Warrior. I think that was an impressive performance yesterday. Then we moved into the ultimate handicap. But even though this one, Chianti Classico, was fancied, I didn't fancy that whatsoever. So the 369 that we went for, Twig, was one of our selections that finished second yesterday out of the 7 that I've mentioned. So possibly on another day they rerun that. I think Twig could have got the better. Into the 4th race, this was a champion hurdle. I didn't really fancy Stake Man, and as Richard Hall said in commentary, he thought it won comfortably, and I would agree with that. I think it was the best horse in the race, but the price reflected that really. But it didn't cost us a lot to do the whole field near enough, and we still put nearly £20 on Stake Man. So yes, we drew about £28 on that, which lost 22. But of course, we had another 6 horses running for us, and horses over hurdles and fences are not guarantees. And then in the next, we did Lossymouth. This was another good win for Paul Town and Willie Mullins combination. Couldn't see anything wrong with that one. Then we went into the old Fred Winter, the Boodles there, and Lark in the Morning. Again, it was fancied. I didn't fancy it. And we had a poor run from all of ours. So there was no chance I was getting excited in that race. Then in the last race, the National Hunt Challenge Cup, Corbett's Cross was the one for me there that had won for us. I didn't fancy this Embassy Gardens. I had this to finish 6th of 7. But to be honest, if it wasn't for Corbett's Cross, we had our top 2 selections pulled up and one that came 4th and 5th, and really again wasn't great. It was only Corbett's Cross there to give you a run for your money, but at the end of the day, that's all you need. Then moving away into Sedgefield, this was our first draw, but a 1.7 favourite that we thought that would come second to recoup, which was second. But again, this started us off with a loss, and then it just got worse really. The next one that won was Plaisir de Flow, and of course this is our next selection after we backed all the others. And again, we had the 2nd, 3rd and 4th in that race. So it wasn't, I know we're not getting a draw in it, but to get the 2nd, 3rd and 4th still gives you a bit of hope that you're doing right somewhere. Then in the race after this, which was Hoglami, and again, this would have been the next one we betted if we could have gone down to one more, but we did have the 2nd and 3rd, so again you think, not too terrible. And then we backed Deep Charm on our 2nd selection here across Ladron, but Ladron was favourite, so we had a slight stake on Deep Charm that give us a little bit of a profit. And then in the 4:30, El Jeff, which again was a selection under what we did, but we did come 2nd and 3rd in that race. And the last race at Sedgefield, which was a National Hunt flat race. Most of the field had not run before. I don't even bother with those. I don't look into races where horses are unraced under rules. So not a good day, but you could take the positives out of that we did have a few seconds and maybe was unlucky in a few of those races. Over the Southall, this was the worst day that I've had for a long time at one meeting. My brother Mike won at 18.58. Yes, I had it as a value bet because I made it 13.87. That's something I haven't really gone down the road of showing people yet. But again, we did have the 2nd placed horse there, Harbour Vision, so I have to take some positives from somewhere. Then the 2nd race, you'd do well if you found this one. This was my outsider. I think it was everyone's outsider really. Returns 185.42 on the Betfair SP, so good luck if you did find that. And my 4 selections there, I think they're still running. It wasn't a good race that. Then we had Churchella, but Churchella, yes, it was a good price of 10 on Betfair, but unfortunately the Crafty Master went off at 2.05, so all I could have was £1.22 on Churchella. But if this was about 3-1 or something, would have been laughing that we had Churchella. So again, it was unlucky, that race, I would say. Then the race after that is one of my no-bet races where we have unraced horses, but unfortunately, the unraced horses, they were pulled up an unseated rider. You don't see much of in the flat, especially 2 newcomers in one race. So you could have backed Monte Rosa if you wanted to, 4.2. That would give you a win. And then we moved into the 7 o'clock. Malek Al-Ri was favourite, which was a bit strange for me. And again, I'll give this to come 6th of 7. and won convincingly. I'd done Optician and also the third there, Real Terms, so again I feel a little bit unlucky in that race. Then into the 7:30, another one I couldn't have picked. This was Ziggy's Missile. I gave again 6th of 7. Didn't manage to get the second this time because it was the 85 to 1 outsider. Was that Mini Magna? So I wouldn't have managed anything in that race. That was poor. Into the 8 o'clock, the favourite came through and won this easily, Moulin Rouge, and I had the third. That was the best, Darlow Pride, that was running on at the end, but again that was a poor result. And into the last race, getting out stakes if you like, One More Dream came through and won that easily at 4.62, and then I would have had the forecast, which was 8.78. So again, I'd like to think at worst I most probably could have got back maybe another couple of winners. I'm not so sure. Even if it was one more winner, it would have put a dent in the losses at Southern. Then we moved into Newcastle. This was a twilight card there, 5 o'clock kickoff. Bobby Shafto, the favourite. Well, it went off third favourite in the end, but it was one of the favourites. And we had that to a lesser stake, but still nonetheless made a profit. And we had the second there, which was Bella Blue Sky. That went off at 3.58. Then into race 2, Medici Pass. I've given this to finish last. This has come through and won. But we did have the second there, which was Marcelo C. But again, I could feel a bit unlucky in that race. The 6:15 again was one of these novice stakes where half the field hadn't run before, so this was never going to be a betting race. And Lakota Brave, one of the, I say experienced horses, but one that's won before, had come through and won that at 11.36, but again it's a no betting race. Then moving into the 6:45, we had a winner here, and this was Martin's Brig. This was our first one to get us underway, so that was a good start for us there. Then we went into the 7:15, and again we had 5 horses running for us here. Mummy has just held on from Crypto Quest, but when you do more than one in a race and you've got the first and second anyway, it doesn't really matter on the outcome, so that got us back in at Newcastle. Then in the third race, this was a little bit of an understate one for us here, but we still drew £94, and this was a winner in Grand Traverse. And again, it didn't really matter because Dream for Gold was second, and that was our top rated selection. So moving now into the last race, Sherdil was our top selection, and as you can see, Golden Rainbow was second. That would have been our forecast. And thank God for Newcastle yesterday, that got us out of a hole in some respect. But getting back to the profit, loss figure there, the 183.07 would have to come back off of the 931.42 that we had going into this. So it still would leave us somewhere in the region of £748 profit. And I do like to profit around £700 per week. As I say, 2 winners a day at 100 times the 7 is 700. So we'll see how we get on again today. But never chase your losses because it pans out in the end. My average is around 57%, which is 57 winners, 43 losers. That gives me a winning ratio of 14 in every 100. And if you split that 14 into the week, that's 2 winners a day. So around £100 a day. I mean, it's just a freak sometimes when you looked at £931 over a period of 5 days and you think, wow, that's £180 per day. But it doesn't keep going. There could be a day where you go through the card at one meeting and no winners at the other, which is pretty much what Newcastle and Southall did last night. If you had done both of those meetings, you still would have come out £60 under, but I'd rather lose £60 than not win at both meetings. Sedgefield was very poor in the afternoon. That was another meeting where I didn't do well. And I got my money back at Cheltenham. And that was the important meeting of the day, but I'm not worried whether my selections running the first at Cheltenham or the last at Southall. They all mean exactly the same. I do the same system on all of them. And somebody asked me in the comments about how I pick the selections. Now, I'll run through the first race at Cheltenham because it was a winner, it helps. You can see in these first 3, 6, 9 columns, because they said they don't see how I can rate a horse higher than the odds on favourites, and then they wanted me to break that down. So if we look at Slade Steel yesterday, in its very last race, there was 10 runners in the race, and it finished second, and the winning stake, this is the winning part, not the purse itself, but the winning stake was 62,913, but it wasn't because it was in Irish, so it would have been in euros, and if I can remember, that was 88,500. So when I put this to my euro stake, which isn't the euros of what it's worth today, this would go back to 1999 when it first came out. So what happens here is you've got your stake and you ran and you finish. Now the ran and the finish, you do 10 divided by 2 times your stake. Okay, that's all you need. Forget about the horse can't go left, it can't run on soft or heavy going, it's got too much weight. Forget all these, put these in the back of your head, and instead of complicating things, make it easy for yourself, even though this takes time to work out. And then Slade Steel's second race, there was 5 runners, finished first, so 5 divided by 1 and times the stake, which was 15,309, but again, you'll see that in euros because it's an Irish-based horse, most of them run in Ireland. And its third race going back, 22 runners, finished first, and the stake would have been 5,243. So when you get the average for all 3 races, it gets divided by 3, and then you have a rating for that horse. When you look at the horse here, Super Sunday, this is only run twice. So again, it does the 2 calculations, and at the end, it gives you a form figure divided by 2, not by 3. And again, that will work exactly the same if the horse is only run once. It will divide by 1, and you can only have that line of form. This is the reason that I don't bet in races. Let's see if I can just, this is why I don't bet in races where they have unraced horses, because yes, all right, they may have run in a point to point, but we don't have stake money for point to point, so I don't use that form for that reason. So everything must be under rules. You could have most probably, if you wanted to, that's what she said, but then you're just gambling on all these horses that haven't raced before being worse than the one you've got at the top. And again, if you look at the form here, 9 ran, divided by where it finished, which was first, times the stake of 2,450, and then that would give you a rating of 22,050. Now, it wouldn't work for everybody, and some people go, oh, I don't like how you got this 50 to 1 shot as your top rated. No, and I agree. But overall, if I'm getting 57% winners, and my winners aren't like your winners, I'm backing lots of horses like here, as you can see in the Ultima. I'm not betting one in a race, but what I am betting every race is evens. Now remember, if you look back to the stats, if you like, and you'll see that an average favourite wins around 1 in 3 races, which, yeah, it's okay, but it's not great. And you would go under if you backed every single favourite. But I'm running on a favourite in every race. And I'm running on even money until it gets to my last selection, which is going to be less. But let's just take it as the top 8 here are running for me at even money. So I've got 8 chances for my favourite. And that tells me if I'm getting 57% to 43 at the end of it, then my percentage is higher doing what I'm doing here than just backing 1 in 3 favourites to win. Because if you're going to do 1 in 3 favourites, you can't do single bets. You've got to then try and chase your money. But I've seen meeting after meeting where no favourites have won at all, and then I've seen race meetings where favourites go through the card. Not often, but it does happen. So I'd rather stick to what I know. I've been doing this for over 40 years, and I tweaked it here and there. But otherwise, it does get a bit more complicated when you're using form from abroad. Now, I don't mean France, because again, that's Euros. Sometimes you might see a horse that's run in Sweden. You have to take it on the face value that the Racing Post have got that stake right, because sometimes it's hard to find horses form and then translate that back into sterling when you've got to go back to 1999. So I've got a page here called Currency Exchange, and going into this you can see what I use. So Australia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Europe is basically the euro, Hong Kong, India, Japan, Korea, Saudi, South Africa, Sweden, United Arab Emirates, and the United States. And I have my rates, which were from January 1999. It's no good doing it now because the euro doesn't reflect really what it was worth going back that far back. So if we look at this race yesterday in the first, I think it was 88,500, which it would have been the winning prize money in euros. But when I put that in, there we go. The exchange is 62,913, which is the figure that I would use. And this is why it takes me quite a long time to work out the whole card. Sometimes it can, depending on how many runners, it can take over an hour and a half to work out one card. So if you're doing this as a living and you've got 4 meetings that day, like there was yesterday, that could take me 6 hours to do the form on those cards. And again, maybe longer if one of the all-weathers got 14 horses per race and you have 9 races, which they do have now and again. That could take 2 hours to work the form out just for that race. Now, underneath here, you can see that I've got exactly the same again, the same countries, but if I decided I was going to do Dundalk, for instance, I would use the Irish prize money. All right, because what we would do then, there would be more. I know you can say at Cheltenham there's more Irish as well, because there is. But if you was to do Dundalk, 99% of the runners would have all run in Ireland, so it's pointless to keep changing the prize money back to sterling. So what I do this way round, if there was an English horse that had travelled across and it had won a race of 5,400 in sterling, this would then become the other way around, and I would put it in at 7,596, but work it out in euros. Right, and this goes for the same anywhere around the world. Breeders' Cup, I would work it all out on dollars, and if we had horses that had come over from Europe, then everything would calculate. It starts getting a bit more difficult when you're getting a horse that's come across from Japan that goes into the United States, because you've got to first work out what the Japanese prize money would equate to into sterling, and then work it out what it would be in dollars. So it's not easy to do this system, and it works for me. I have bad days as well. You saw that one there yesterday of £183. I think the most I've lost in a day is around 400, but the most I've won in a day, I think, was on a Saturday where there was about 45 races, and I managed to have around 30 winners. So it does happen. You know, you can pull £700-800 on a very good day, but you've just seen yesterday on a minus 183. It's a slight setback, but when you've been up in the last 5 days more than you should be, it does equate to the averages. So you will never keep on going at a big score of £180 a day when the average is 100. It will eventually come down. You know, and this works the same in football. When you look at the Premier League, the average points to win that league is around 2.5. It will never be 3, and someone will never win it on 2 points per game. But I know Leicester won it that year and it wasn't great, but again, the averages will tell you that you'll need around 2.5 points per game. And it's exactly the same in this. As you've gone off, tearing off, and you've got 20 winners and no losers, you know at some point 8 losers will appear on the averages. It's just the way life goes. But anyway, thanks for listening to me rabble on. And if you've got any more questions, or even if you want one of these templates to have a go at, then just let me know and I can send anything as long as you email me. And subscribe to the channel. That'll be a good help at the moment because I've only just started it on Thursday, even though I've been doing this form for years and years. So yeah, just leave a comment, tell me what you fancy, and that's about it. And I'll be back at about 1:20. We'll do what we did yesterday. We'll dissect the race again on today's prices, and then we'll go over to ITV for the first 5 races and we'll watch those live, and then the last 2 races I will use the audio commentary, and let's hope we can all get the winners that we need today. But thanks for watching this, and yeah, we'll be back about 1:20 for the first race. Thank you.